U.S. citizenship. Who is eligible become a citizen U.S. The very highest benefit a person can receive under U.S. immigration law is to become a citizen of the United States. For this reason, becoming a citizen is open only to certain people, most of whom have already held a U.S. green card, learned English, and can meet various other criteria, as discussed in this article. If you like this video and want more free information about immigration law and naturalization process, give us like and subscribe to our channel. We add and update information about immigration and naturalization regularly. Our goal is to help you solve many of your legal problems. Naturalized U.S. citizens share equally in the rights and privileges of U.S. citizenship. U.S. citizenship offers immigrants the ability to vote in federal elections, travel with a U.S. passport, run for elective office where citizenship is required, participate in un-irado, become eligible for federal and certain law enforcement jobs, obtain certain state and federal benefits not available to non-citizens, obtain citizenship for minor children born abroad, and expand and expedite their ability to bring family members to the United States. How become a U.S. citizen? By birth. Through naturalization. Generally, people are born U.S. citizens if they are born in the United States or if they are born to U.S. citizens. If you were born in the United States, including, in most cases, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, you are an American citizen at birth, unless you were born to a foreign diplomat. Your birth certificate is proof of your citizenship. Acquisition can be complex. For more information, subscribe to our channel and watch our next video, Automatic U.S. Citizenship for Children by Birth to Citizen Parents, to learn more about acquisition of citizenship. And at least one of your parents lived in the United States at some point in his or her life, then in most cases you are a U.S. citizen. If you were born abroad to one U.S. citizen, in most cases, you are a U.S. citizen if all of the following are true. One of your parents was a U.S. citizen when you were born. Your citizen parent lived at least 5 years in the United States before you were born. At least 2 of these 5 years in the United States were after your citizen parent's 14th birthday. For more information, subscribe to our channel and watch our next video, U.S. Citizenship for Children, Derivation of Citizenship and Application for Citizenship under Section 322. Who is eligible for naturalization? If you are not a U.S. citizen by birth or did not acquire U.S. citizenship automatically after birth, you may still be eligible to become a citizen through the normal naturalization process. Criteria for citizenship through naturalization. If you meet all of the following criteria, you are eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship. You have had permanent residence, a green card, for the required number of years. If you have been a permanent resident for the past 5 years and have no special circumstances. Note: over 90% of applicants fall into this category. Note: 5 years. That means exactly 5 years to the day. For example, if you were approved for permanent residence on April 17, 2015, you would be eligible for citizenship on April 17, 2020. Check your green card, permanent resident card, for the exact date on which you became a permanent resident. If you are currently married to and living with a U.S. citizen and have been married to and living with that same U.S. citizen for the past 3 years and your spouse has been a U.S. citizen for the past 3 years. Note also that you can turn in your citizenship application 90 days before your required years of permanent residence have passed To compensate for the fact that U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services USCIS may not act on your application, call you in for an interview for at least that amount of time. If you were married to a U.S. citizen who died during a period of honorable active duty service in the U.S. Armed Forces, note, you must have been married to and living with your U.S. citizen spouse at the time of his or her death. Note, time in the U.S. Armed Forces counts as time physically present in the United States no matter where you were. Note, you have been physically present, that is, lived in the United States, for at least half your required years of permanent residence. This is usually 2.5 out of the required 5 years. If you are in the U.S. Armed Forces or relative of someone who has been with the U.S. Armed Forces, subscribe to our channel and watch our next video. U.S. Citizenship Application Rules for Military Members and Veterans. If you served on a vessel operated by the United States. If you served on a vessel registered in the United States and owned by U.S. citizens or a U.S. corporation. If you are an employee or an individual under contract to the U.S. government. If you are a U.S. national, a non-citizen who owes permanent allegiance to the United States, and have become a resident of any state and are otherwise qualified for naturalization, you are not required to be a permanent resident. If you are employed for 5 years or more by a U.S. non-profit organization that principally promotes the interests of the U.S. abroad through the communications media. If you are a person who performs ministerial or priestly functions for a religious denomination or an interdenominational organization with a valid presence in the U.S. If you are at least 18 years old and are the spouse of the following. 1. An employee or an individual under contract to the government. 2. An employee of an American institution of research recognized by the Attorney General. 3. A member of the U.S. Armed Forces. 4. An employee of an American-owned firm or corporation engaged in the development of foreign trade and commerce for the U.S. 5. An employee of a public international organization of which the U.S. is a member by law or treaty. 6. A person who performs ministerial or priestly functions for a religious denomination or an interdenominational organization with a valid presence in the U.S. And you will proceeding to join your spouse whose work aboard under orders of the qualifying employer will continue for at least 1 year after the date you will be naturalized. Form N-400 should be filled prior to departing. Note: if you did not enlist or re-enlist in the United States or its outlying possessions, you must be a permanent resident on the day you file your application. You must be a permanent resident on the day of your interview. Note: you have lived in the same U.S. state or USCIS district for 3 months before applying to the USCIS. There. You can read, write, and speak basic English. Note: you will be tested on this during the naturalization interview at a USCIS office. You know the fundamentals of U.S. history and the form and principles of the U.S. government. You will also be tested on this during the naturalization interview at a USCIS office. Fortunately, all the possible questions are available for you to study in advance. You are a person of good moral character. Note: for example, it helps to be able to say or prove that you have paid your taxes and child support and not committed any crimes, and have otherwise been a responsible member of the community. For more information, subscribe to our channel and watch our next video, 2019 U.S. Citizenship, Naturalization Eligibility Worksheet, and Continuous Residence and Physical Presence Requirements for U.S. Citizenship. How long can I stay outside the U.S. to be eligible for U.S. citizenship?